So.
Hey friends, welcome to Moxie Gardens. I'm Mike Toomey, and today we're going to take a little lap around the yard, give you a little garden tour. It's what, May 28th or 26th, something like. My wife says 25th. That's my wife behind there. You'll hear me call her Jessie a lot, so that's who's manning the camera. So if it messes up, my fault. Let's just start here in the front. You can hear a little bit of the traffic. We've got a heavy air today. It's really muggy. So you're going to hear a little bit of the traffic, but we'll get started right here. And I think nothing better than to get started with this black lace elderberry. Super showy, it's blooming out. This is one of the ones that I didn't know about until I was watching Garden Answers, and she recommended this for her garden. So I thought, why not? But it's going into its third season, so it should really take off. You can see a lot of the new leaf structure here, so that's really sharp. And then right here in the back, I've got dappled willow. Now this dappled willow, the contrast between those two, I think they're going to play really nice as they mature. I do have right above me, sorry if I'm moving too fast for you, Jesse, but right here I have an eastern redbud. It's already put off, gosh darn, almost a foot. But between this, the dappled willow, the black lace, this is going to fill in real nicely through here. Now, typically people just buy the dappled willow, and it can get, I think like 17, 18 feet tall and wide. I kind of use it as a hedge. We'll swing around here in a minute and take a look at it. But yeah, this part of the garden has really come together. I used to be able to see the whole street and everything, and my wife was a little bit worried about me planting all this stuff into this space because she would agree that a lot of times whenever I start building a plan, putting a plan together for the garden, she's not 100% on board because she doesn't see the end results. Some of you might feel the same way, but it's hard to envision something if you're not 100% sure how to envision that type of stuff. So I will never get I told you so, but nor would I play that game with her. But yeah, I think it's turning out super well, and only time will tell as we continue on. Right here below us, underneath the black lace, I have a bunch of daisies in here. Shasta daisies, correct? Yes, correct. Shasta daisies. You can see here some of them are performing a little bit better, but I bought those at a box store. I think it was Walmart last year, and they were really on their way out. A lot of what I do in the garden is buy these box stores trash, the stuff that they're getting ready to throw away because it's on its final markdown. Especially closer to spring or to July, when things start to die out, I'll really go in there and try to clean house and park it in the garden. It might not look good, and it definitely won't look good, I should say, as I plan it. But as the season goes along, going into the next year, as long as that root system is good, we should be all right. I do have a couple boxwoods, and boxwoods can grow in both shade. They're shade tolerant, sun tolerant, but I've got these two in containers. I just popped these in here because this dappled willow back here has a couple bare spots, so I thought it would look nice with right behind this bench. Normally this bench just sits here, nobody really sits on it unless somebody's shooting baskets. They get tired and they come over here and sit, but sometimes they take prom pictures or whatnot in here. So I think this will be a nice little backdrop to cover up that bald spot right there, and then just kind of make this bench feel a little cozy. And with due time, this black lace elderberry is just going to take over this space. So yeah, that's the front part of the garden. Right beside it, I have some irises. They didn't perform very well this year. This kind of is a disappointing space right here, that where I've got the Japanese maple and the irises. I feel like I need to do something different there. I'll find a happy little hosta or something that can do well with a little bit of sun. So that being said, we'll move right along. I've got St. John's wort here. I've got two of them flanking this tree here. Now you can see here that it's starting to kind of die towards the back. And again, when I planted this stuff was in full sun, and it baked. Well, now I've got all the trees and shade that are really taking away from the energy that these plants like. So if you're new to the garden, as you plant trees and you start to see the garden develop, You just have to make plans to do something different. You can see how this one looks really well, and they're not a fussy plant. I think they do really well. So I've got to figure out what I'm doing wrong there, but I really think it's just a lack of sun. You can see here in the bottom it's bulbed as well. Sometimes though, I'm kind of a hoarder of plants. Sometimes it's hard to say goodbye to something, so my wife raises her eyebrows. So yeah, right here I have some hyacinths that just I'm getting closer. I'll knock them down here before too long, and I think I'll just have a bald spot there. I really don't. I think it just eases the eye whenever if you just plant too much, sometimes it can just feel crazy. So I think I'll just leave that as is. I haven't really done anything. And then right here I have black-eyed Susans. This space, actually adding these rocks and stuff, I thought it was gonna be fun. I had several of the alliums, and for whatever reason, I don't know, I have luck and then not so luck. It's a love-hate relationship. This used to have a ton in here. They lasted 2 years, and these are the last 2 in its 3rd season. So that being said, I'll probably stubbornly still continue to add them, but I used to have a bunch of gladiators in here, and it was really sharp from the street, but now, you know, again, I'll continue to fight that passion, and I'll put it in there. But these black-eyed Susans will do really well. This is now the 3rd season they've been in here. And then I've got this driftwood. As you go through the garden, if you're new to this channel and just watching this for this time, I use a lot of rust, a lot of broken stuff. I don't like straight lines, and I love old stuff that people would just assume put on the side of the road or trash, but I like to recycle it. And so you'll see a lot of driftwood and rust in the garden. The sidewalk here, so again, I'm not into straight lines, but you can see this this pathway here. This used to be shelving at a local box store. They were getting rid of a bunch after remodel. I seen it, picked it up, and then there's a little shelf in there, and so I just laid these posts in here. But I've never been fond of the straight lines, so I've come back through with these. I just kind of recently started laying these down, and I'll flirt with the idea of continuing this out, and we'll see how it turns. We come back here. My daughter and I planted this tree, so that tree back there was our first tree that we planted, my son and I. There was no landscape. Let me see if I can pop up a picture. Okay, so you can see how well that played out. That was our first tree in the front yard that we planted. But then my daughter and I planted this, and it was in burlap, and it was also in the wire. And I was very new to gardening and stuff. All I was trying to do was just give us a little bit of a break from our neighbors, because we kind of live in a fish pond. And so I didn't even know to take off the burlap. I didn't even know to take off the wire. So these 2 trees currently have that in there, and now that tree is going on, I want to say like 7-8 years, and this one is going on like 5 years. It was a big container. In fact, it was just in the burlap. Like I said, we backed it in, used the trailer. I had a pulley system clear out to another vehicle. It was tied also to the basketball goal. So I did some weird stuff to get this tree out, and then my daughter and I planted it. And then come to find out, like a year later, I run into something on YouTube where it told me you got to get rid of the burlap and you got to get rid of wire, which is, some people will die by the sword when it comes to that. And so I would say do your research, but I definitely, that's how I process all my trees now. So if it's in burlap, the burlap comes off and the wire comes off. If I can't get the wire off, I'll flatten it out. So just do your research before you invest that kind of money into it. Moving right along, I have several different things in here. I've got hostas, lamb's ear. So if I have a top 5 perennial, lamb's ear's in that category. So is variegated, what is it, just variegated Solomon seal. Yep, Solomon seal. Those are top 2. You say you can't even remember the name, but they're in your top 5. So yeah, but definitely in my top 5 perennials. They're no fuss perennials, and I really like it. And then I only planted 3 plants in here, and you can see I could easily dig up several and add them to the garden. Here's another instance of my rust. Couple that with a bird bath, and it just makes a sweet little pocket here. With the sun back here, my wife would collect suns for me when we first got married, and maybe even before we got married. She's been gifting me these different suns throughout the holidays and birthdays and Father's Day, those types of things. So I've got those dotted in the landscape. And you can see here, I've got this coleus basket in here. Now, one of our neighbors lived next door. She moved to Florida, her and her children. But she gifted this to me, and she said, you're not going to be able to do anything with it because it's all rusted out. But I live for that type of stuff, so I just make sure the handle's out just to kind of give it some structure as you're guiding through here. And then usually I like to put a purple coleus in here. I never really found one that I was super excited about, so I went with this style, and I think it's okay, but I really think the green with this green, it really doesn't separate it. So I'll continue to monitor this. If I find something at a box store that has a lot more of the purple and chartreuse colors that bleed into the purple, then I'll probably take it and add it to the garden, add it to this spot, and then move that one out. But that's typically what I do. I just grab a container and put it in there. And then my wife keeps it alive by watering it every evening. So kudos to her. Jesse, if you pan over here, nice and slow like. Here's some more of the driftwood. Again, these are just things that I use throughout the garden. You can sometimes overdo, in my opinion, you can sometimes overdo the whimsy, and it's a happy balance, and I'm trying to figure that all out. Back here as well, I've got this old rusty, I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know what she used it for, but there's some glue and different things on it, but I think a good gazing ball would look nice here. I've got a hydrangea here. I believe this is Incredible. I'll put it up, but flanking it is some black-eyed Susans and some cone flowers. This looks really good. I've got, let's see, some zebra grass. This zebra grass is going to have to come out of here because I'm getting way too much shade. You can see how thin it is. Good thing about that is that's probably 8 or 9 plants, depending on how I stick a shovel in it, and I can gift it to neighbors and friends and family. So that's what I will be doing shortly. And then I think I'm going to go in there with some rhododendrons. We really like the rhododendrons, and this one is the same as that one. I had it flanked on the other side, but I really like how it's performs, but right now it's not so showy because it's not getting enough sun. Underneath this, what is this? A sand cherry, sand plum sand something. Yeah, I'll throw the name up, but I actually use these. They grow really well here in Kansas, Zone 6A. They grow so well that I almost use that color like you would use a Japanese maple. So the only bad thing is recently, within the last couple of years, we have had a mess of
Japanese beetles. Yeah,
Japanese beetles, and they really like this, and along with a lot of other things. So frustrating. But yeah, continue on. Can you see that in my big belly in the way? But this gate here is something special. I drew up the dimensions and everything, and then I just asked my brother, who's a welder in Texas, if he could build it up and put it together. Let me throw up a couple photos for you. Okay, perfect. So you can see how all that works out. My son came in here. Didn't my son look thrilled? Yeah, he's probably going to be real thrilled when he finds out his face is on YouTube. But I think it turned out well, and it really showcases going into the back garden instead of just a basic wooden gate. So basic wooden gate would have worked, but I'm going with a different theme. Right here, I've got a trumpet vine. This trumpet vine. Now, before you attack, I know trumpet vines in some people's neighborhoods where you're watching you might just be sick and tired of it, but these are things I like to grow in the garden. So do your research before you go out and purchase something that you might see on this channel. But this is very aggressive. It can root out and come up in areas you didn't even know until you see the blooms on it. So do your research. A lot of people would frown against having this, but I love the hummingbirds and the bees and everything that come with this part. And again, I'm out here as much as the sun is out here. So if the sun's shining, I'm probably out here. And that being said, if we were to ever move or something, I would have to pass along the information to a new homeowner. But my wife says we're not moving anytime soon. So yeah, but eventually, and that's what this gap is here for. I'm hoping that I can get this to come up here and just kind of stay stationary here. I really don't want it to come over here. I really want it to just ball up right here, and then just watch it just you know, create another element to the garden, and then allow all the different insects and birds and different things that enjoy these flowers to come in, these blooms to come in. This clematis here, they say there's 2 types of clematis. This is the one that you can cut down all the way to the ground. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't look as impressive because my son's dog, Miss Marley, was chasing a little rabbit and came over here and knocked it down. So I had to cut several parts of it down that had already come up and begun to really sprout out. So I had to cut it down a little bit. So typically, I'll throw a picture up, but typically it's up here, and here is the picture. There you go. So this year I just have to bite the bullet and accept it. This iron piece back here, this iron piece is very sentimental to the family. This was my wife's grandparents. Oh wow, I've never seen that bird before. That's a woodpecker, I think.
Oh wow.
Crazy. Okay, so this was my wife's grandparents. They passed, and so they handed it down to my wife's aunt, and then my wife's aunt and uncle came to visit, seen the passion that we had for gardening, and gave it to us and seen what we can do. And it's funny because then when my in-laws and they came down, and my wife's aunt and uncle came down, they immediately regretted it because they were like, why didn't we think of that? So that same uncle who just passed last month, Dennis made all of these and gifted it to us throughout the seasons. There's several more behind it, but I think it's fun, and you know, we remember the good times with Dennis as we make our way through here. So that's another part of the story of this garden. Jesse, if you don't mind, just maybe stepping back and then just giving kind of a full view. So in perspective of how this garden looks, you can see it. I'm what, 6'2"? Just? Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not even 6 foot, but you can see here that just my size coming through here, it's still, you can see all the growth and everything, and this is about 7 years old, so yeah, super exciting to see this area develop. Oh, I didn't mention this right here. This is a double file viburnum, and it had already bloomed out, which you can see right here where these had little white flowers. Now, I don't really get to see the flowers as much from my view, but what I did was I took this and just kind of trimmed up everything to leave this bark structure here. I really like that structure. I wish I could duplicate that throughout the garden. The only other thing I have in the garden that even kind of comes similar to this in the back is a tiger eye sumac. And so if I could duplicate this several more times, I would, because I really like the bones of this, and it just looks so whimsical and inviting. So yeah, let's head to the back. So as the gate opens, you're introduced to this pathway that we just put in here. Nice and slow. So you're introduced to this pathway right through here, and I am adding all of these different ferns throughout here, and we'll see how it grows. These ferns really didn't give a dimension. So the size on the label, which is weird because I got it at a box store, said 1 to 7 feet tall and 1 to 7 feet wide. So researching it, it looks like it's only going to be the 1 to 2 feet. And you can see this one's been here, or this one was in the garden before I transplanted it to here. It's been here in the garden for about 2 years. So that looks like what we're looking for. And then you can see how it flirts with the railroad ties. All that is railroad ties dug down. I don't have any backing on there. The way I understand it, if you put any kind of barrier where the water cannot escape during frost and so when stuff freezes and then it swells and then it detracts. Is that what's the words I'm using? Anyway,
Expands.
Yeah, expands. Thank you. So anytime that water expands, it would push against here. Well, now all these cracks and crevices through here, the water is able to escape. So therefore, I have never seen any of these move. None of them have been pushed out of its space, and so that works out well. So there's about 6 railroad ties. I will tell you though, to do your research, do not make garden beds such as your tomatoes, peppers, anything you're going to use for edibles. Do not use railroad ties because there is toxins in these that can bleed into your food. So definitely don't do that. Right below us is some ajuga, and it fills in nicely. You can see how it's already flirting with the grays in here, and I really like that idea, and I've probably said this ad nauseum throughout these videos, but I use the word flirt because I just love the way it comes over, and it just makes it look like the garden has been here forever. So if you're new to gardening, maybe that's one of the things that you can pick up from this video is find things that are going to share your pathways, not disrupt your path, but share the pathway, and it just makes it feel more cozy. So the garden bridge right here, this was a lot of fun in making. So in the beginning, when I first started this garden, I didn't know what I was doing, right? So if you're new and you're just tuning in, I don't have a background in any kind of horticulture. I don't have any kind of experience. I don't have anybody in the family who handed down the necessary knowledge to create this garden. This all happened because I had a water issue after we purchased the home. Shortly after, we had a rainstorm. My wife came into the room that I was in, and she was very distraught. Look at all the water. I'll put up some pictures. There's some pictures. So and everybody asked me, can you show me the water flow? I didn't know I was going to do YouTube before I reconstructed this whole backyard. So there's a lot of things that I'm not able to share with you, but you can get the general idea by looking at how much water's there. So when I put this bridge down, I have a lot of humorous friends, and so what I didn't want to do was put a nice cozy bridge in there to it where it looked really sharp and all that stuff. I really wanted to probably at the time, but I didn't, because my buddies would harass me, and they would tell me, oh, Mike's got a bridge, look at Big Mike. So I didn't do that, but what I did do was put this wonky little bridge down to show them and myself that I'm not taking this serious. I just needed to get from point A to point B without falling in the water. That's a real low spot right there, and so the water would come pretty high up to the top of that bridge, and with good current too, especially when we have really major water downfalls coming off all these homes. We're surrounded by, let's see, there's 6 or 7 homes that look down onto us. It's a fishbowl sort of, and so all their homes drain water into this low spot, and so the low spot happened to be our yard. So I could never get to here to there with the lawnmower, because the lawnmower would be pretty much submerged in the water if we had any, but I would still need to mow from over there and over here. But yeah, so we ended up with this bridge, and that started this whole friggin' mega craziness with this garden. So moving right along, this is a new project. You doing okay, Jess? Okay. Moving right along, we just currently put up this wall. You can see in perspective. So this used to be actually it used to lay flat on our koi pond that was under our gazebo. I tore down the gazebo that had been there for a long time because now I have all the trees shrubs and a lot of shade. But at the time, this garden didn't have any trees, any shrubs, anything. Here's a picture, matter of fact. That shows you that this yard didn't have anything when we moved. No fencing or anything. This was the only fence right there. Oh, you see the baby robin right here on the...
Oh.
Yeah, baby robin. But anyway, so we put in this koi pond. My brother and my son worked their tails off while I was at work to dig the hole and everything. Anyways, time has passed. I didn't need the gazebo, so I tore out the koi pond. This was the structure. These bones, the wood was in there. My oldest son and I had just carried this over here about 3 weeks ago, and we got to this point when it was too heavy. We stopped, we dropped it right here, and we were going to take it to the recycle bin, and it sat here for like 3 or 4 days, and I kept passing it. So then I went and leveled it off, and I was like, hey, I think I could do something with it. Here's what I could do. Here's what I did with it. Eventually, I said in my last video or 2 videos, I don't know, but I can't wait to add lighting to all this, but it's going to look super sharp. You can see right here these hostas. I took some hostas. This gets some evening sun. So I think the variegated type hostas are the ones that don't handle the sun very well. So I put these hostas in here, and they've done really, really well. I've got a Japanese maple here. That's a Japanese bloodgood maple, and it was in a greenhouse. So when I put it out in the sun, you can see, but it's still doing well. I think all in all, in a few years, this is really going to branch out. And if you could imagine, Jesse, if you could slide back a little bit. So if you could imagine that leaf structure, that purple structure coming in right here, kind of giving us another element of a canopy, and I can see it going back as far as Jesse, because they get about 20 feet tall. And I think it's going to be happy in that space because there is some water that flows through here, like I've said before. So the roots will be plenty well taken care of because it's elevated about 1.5 foot, but still some of the roots can still get to that good moisture. So I think that's going to be a happy plant. I can see the canopy just looking really sharp and then kind of enclosing and making this stand out really well. I did plant a honeysuckle on the back side, and it's going to be several feet back. I know when I shared this, some people thought that when I was explaining it, because I don't explain things very fast, I'm just go, 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 go. That being said, I have to do a better job on YouTube so that I can articulate it correctly. But that honeysuckle is going to be back several feet. It's just going to color. Can you see that fence from there, Jesse?
Yes.
It's just kind of cover up that fence so that, you know, when you walk through here, you feel like you're in, you know, somewhere that you're not supposed to be. Once you open that gate, I want it to feel like this is magical. And when you can look over there and see the playground and the greenhouse in the neighbor's yard and the fence, it's not so magical. So I'm shooting for magic back here, and hopefully that that'll play out. You can see right here on the pallet wall, if you're new to the channel and today's the very first time you've seen it, here's the making of the pallet wall. All right, and so I planted a honeysuckle over it. It smells glorious. However, this is like the trumpet vine, like the ajuga. Be aware, honeysuckle can take off on you. Pay attention to it. This is the wild version. A lot of people would, maybe where you're viewing this, absolutely despise it. It's under control. Again, I'm out here as much as the sun is out here, so as long as I live here, I think this will be in good shape. This is, again, more information that I will pass on to the next homeowner if we had to happen to leave. Right here below, we've got some azaleas. You can see here, I think I have a little bit, I need to get some iron on these because you can see it looks like there's an iron deficiency. Back here is what they're supposed to look like. Let me see if I can pop some of these up in bloom. here. And then this Moxie Gardens sign. My youngest son gifted this to us. Again, Moxie Gardens is because we lost a pet when we transitioned to our house, and if you can tell, it's a dog bone. And so when we moved here from Southwest Kansas, you know how pets help families transition, and psychologically it was helping the family. And then of course our beloved Moxie passed away, and then this garden started to kind of materialize. And I think naming the garden helped me to get back out here and kind of make it feel more important than just plants and trees and shrubs. So that being said, Moxie is forever in this garden. So these lanterns here, I've recently started to put these lanterns out. Am I going too fast for you? Are you good?
You're good. I'm good.
Okay. So I've recently put these out and I've been hanging them up. These were a 90% discount at Walmart after Christmas. And so I was talking about this in one of my videos, but somebody came up with a really good idea. Actually, several of you, I wish I could give you credit. Maybe just say, hey, you owe me credit on here in the comments. But they were saying, because I like all the rust and old, this looks too modern. So I think they were saying that I can cover up this white with some paint, kind of give it a rustic look, and kind of do the same thing here. So that being said, I'm going to take your advice. I've got several of these in the garage. My in-laws have a few of them. I might steal them back, but one day I might connect them all to some wiring. But for right now, I'm going to take your advice, and that will be a project coming up. This grass right here is going to get about 4 feet tall, and I really think it's going to showcase this as you walk in. This grass I moved from the front garden because, again, the trees and shrubs have given so much shade that now it's just time to transition them into another part of the garden. This probably getting to be a long video, so I'll just kind of try to get us around here as quick as possible. Right here is just a ton of annuals and perennials that I've planted in here. We've got some penstemon that are starting to bloom in here, which is kind of funny because they really could eat all the sun that you could give it, and they're doing quite well with about 5 hours of sun. And then I highlight it with some chartreuse and different greens and golds, hostas. As we go through, there's some heuchera down here. This is carnival heuchera. We've got some basic lilies. It looks like I'm going to have to thin some of these lilies out. They're starting to beg for it. I've got a bunch of coleus. I guess I should have filled up the bird baths. But yeah, my wife and I went to, we like going junking, and we went to this one, and the girl that was in there, she said, my boss just left. I don't have a price for that. She goes, but you can give me a price. I said 25 bucks, and she gave it, well, I think they're supposed to be like 60 or 70, and yeah, it's in our garden now. So we've got some coleus to kind of brighten up these dark spots. Again, another hosta, some brunner right through here, pop in a little turtle. Like I said before, too much whimsy can be overbearing, so I just kind of try to tuck stuff in. Again, all these bird houses right through here are from Dennis. If you recall, that's her uncle who gifted those to us. In fact, he's got a license plate from when, what's that say? October 2002. So yeah. And then right here we have Baltimore Orioles that come in. There's some grape jelly. They've recently started to show up. Looky here. I have, oh, that's wild. You know what that is? Tiger eye sumac. Yep. Yeah. That's clear on the other side of the yard. But then I went with a darker coleus. And then right here along the edge, again, I've got some ajuga. Let it flirt with the edges. And that's a one-time buy with that ajuga because it's going to do what I want it to and take up that space. And so and then the hostas stay here, the ferns. And so I'll just have to, over time, just continually add different annuals in here. I got some Annabelle hydrangeas. I love them, but my wife knows that here shortly she'll get the text from me every morning to come out and make sure they've got water because they're super thirsty. I've got another one on this side. If I'm moving too fast for you, let me know. Right here I have a little tricycle. Again, more rust. I think of a little kid just parked that tricycle there and walked away for the last time, and that's how I kind of come up with these ideas in my head. Underneath these boxes that just look randomly ugly, they are only there because those are electrical boxes to our neighbors, not our home. We've asked to have them removed, so I'm sure it's going to be costly, but I despise them. But those go to the homes over there. It is what it is. You just have to work with what you got. Right here, I have you remember what it's called?
Contorted fill.
Contorted filbert. Yeah, so my wife's really good. She knows nothing about gardening, she would tell you, but if I tell her a name, she can remember it. when I'm talking to my kids, I might go through 7 names. I only have 3 kids, but I might come up with 7 names before I get the right name. So she can just tell you a name, and especially with something like Phil, that's kind of funny. So contorted filbert. Right here is a prairie fire crabapple, super showy in spring. Once I see this blooming out, I know we're closer, and I love to see all those different insects come and wake up, and they know they have a place here in our garden that is going to be there every year for them. So that buying into the idea that you can help nature along the way is super special to my wife and I. So moving over this way, this is they're gonna love you. They're gonna love you. They tell me don't go fast, so they're gonna love you, Jesse. Right here, this is a pom juniper. I had it over there, and then early in the spring, I moved it over here. I just gave it a haircut. Kind of looks like myself. But yeah, I think this space, once it starts to kind of mature and with all the bones and everything, I really like how this actually fell into place. So here to my left, if you had smell-o-vision, this would be, our whole backyard just smells just like it doesn't belong here. But again, more honeysuckle, the bees, everything just happy. So here's some hostas. These are sun mouse hostas. I think they're kind of funny. Just added those recently. Got some Nepeta, catmint Nepeta through here. It plays so well with the 9 bark. I think that looks really good. Coming right around here, you can see my little bike, another little bike. I had another little rust bucket that I found, and you see the charming little fence back there. Just tucked it away, and you can write your own story when you come through here. But my story is somebody parked that bike there, and that was the last time they seen it. Yeah, moving right along, I have in the back, flanked in the back, are a bunch of limelight hydrangeas. Right underneath several birch trees. And then right here is a Weigela, the Florida Weigela. It was super showy just about a month ago. And then I have just a tuft of annuals through here. Some of these aren't sun-loving. These Kong coleus aren't so sun-loving, but I do have several potato vine that as it matures, it'll kind of wrap itself around and it'll really cool the plant's roots off and hopefully give us a reason to keep this stuff around here. I have a rose bush here that I have no idea still. Everybody who has told me what it is, I've researched it, still can't find the right answer. And that's okay, I appreciate everybody chiming in. But I do know that it's super aggressive. It's going to get very wide. So a lot of you were spot on. We're probably using the terms that our grandparents gave us or their grandparents gave you, and just can't quite get a name, but we all kind of have, we call pennies, the peonies we call pennies, but you have those types of plants that our families named and that aren't the actual name. So right here is some golden barberry. Super showy. In fact, anytime I'm doing a video in this area, everybody wants to know what that bright shiny plant is. That is some barberry. This is crimson barberry, and right behind it is, I've got 3 of them. Oh geez, I'll throw the name up. Then I have right here, I've got a bunch of iris that I transplanted, so I was super happy to find out that a lot of them bloomed. You know, if you get those too deep, you might just not get any blooms. So a lot of these things are happy. This sidewalk was put in. Again, we did a lot of transitioning of soil and rocks and those types of things. So, and then right back here in the fire, I believe that is quick fire hydrangea. I think next year or going into spring. Are you actually taking a picture? She's taking a picture to get a name. That's funny. What's it tell you?
Privet.
Yep, privet. Thank you. See, everybody needs a good wife beside them to figure out all their answers. But yeah, I've just got a repeat of a lot of the different things. Looks like the speed well needs a little bit of water. I got these on super big discount because it looked just like this, maybe a little bit worse than this. All three of these, there's 3 plants here. Need to get some water on this. Let's see. I've got right here. So my wife, you can see this here. So I'm going to tell them a little story. My wife, like, no stories, Mike, just stay on topic. But you ever seen John Lord from overseas? Well, when I first seen his videos, he is like, the cameraman's chasing him. I just love that guy, and his knowledge is just crazy. But literally, he has a shovel and he's running, it feels like, and the cameraman's trying to catch up with him. I kind of feel like that right now. You have to understand, this is our very first time my wife filming me, so this is kind of unique. And so she's nervous about, is she going to capture it correctly? I'm nervous, am I going too fast? So first time ever doing this, so just bear with us. We'll only get better as time goes along. We have a honeysuckle here. This is not one that's super aggressive. Is that cookies and cream? I don't know, I'll have to look, but it's in the wrong spot. I think now that all the barberry and everything's up, I need to find a new location so it can really perform the way it wants to. It's just not getting enough sun. We have several spirea through here. There was some more back there. Behind you, I've got a 9 bark here. So I've taken this, this is where the gazebo used to be. I've taken it out. My wife and I spent a lot of hot hours getting this thing going. My brother built that koi pond. I could have used that for a storm shelter. But I've got a big plan coming up. I'm just not ready yet. Right here and right there, I have a variegated Wagelia. I'm impressed that they're doing so well. It probably could be a little bit showier, but it gets a little bit more shade than it would like. My brother built these whimsical, again, I just draw him and he just puts it together. But you can see where we used the little nuts and bolts to maybe a little bit of hair. Maybe he was sending me a message, but I just told him, just make it look whimsical. So kind of fun, but normally these have plants in them. Not so much today. In fact, it just has all the tools and stuff that we use to tear down the gazebo. But normally these have pots and stuff in it. Got another Japanese maple here. I moved it several feet forward because of the project that I'm going to have going back there. I've got some Pachysandra all through here, and I need it to start. It's starting to perform. It's starting to get closer to the sidewalk. Got several hydrangeas. What are these? Summer Crush hydrangeas right here, and I've got 3 on this side. So this will be a lot of fun. All 3 of these will, hopefully, if it works out. Actually, what kind are these? This is Tough Stuff Aha. So 2 to 4 feet. Yeah, 2 to 3 feet wide. So I'm hoping that it will kind of fill in the space. Again, I think it's all dependent on how much sun it gets, but we'll see. Ferns right here to flirt with the edge. Got a impatient, got some Brunnera through here. I didn't turn on the pond. If you wait a second, I'll turn on the pond. So this was a super fun project. It took a second to plug it in. We keep it unplugged while the wind's blowing, so typically if we're not out here, we just don't keep it on. But this was a fun little project. All that is a little reservoir below. The water recycles back through the pump. Ta-da! But we do live in the inner city, and so a lot of times there's birthday parties and different things going on. Having these water structures and features throughout the garden really help to drown out some of the neighboring noise. Got some irises that are right below it. Oh, in the background, can you see since you're right there? We've got some fountain grass. I've got a few oak leaf hydrangeas on that side. On this side here, Again, I use a lot of the same plants throughout the garden to appear that it's more cohesive, and you kind of feel like you've seen some stuff. I guess it psychologically it does something. Maybe you guys can articulate that correctly, but have some more honeysuckle through here. Again, if you're an insect or a bird in this area and you like something on this side, you're going to like something on the other side of the garden. Here's some super fun planters. These bowls, I'll add it to the link if you're not familiar, or you can go back and look at one of my videos from a couple weeks ago. We put these in, but it was the planters that I introduced, and yeah, my wife actually went online to see if there were any more available, and the brown is out. You said there's white and
black and gray.
Black and gray. So in the back right here is a rhododendron. It's just about to finish up. It's funny because I know in here there's a lot of perennials and what some of us in the Midwest will call houseplants or tropicals. And some of you guys that are viewing this, maybe these are all perennials to you, but for right here, a lot of this stuff, the perennials that I do have, I will add to the garden somewhere else at the end of the season. And a lot of this stuff will actually succumb to the cold. Some of the stuff I'll take inside and we'll see if we can't keep it. But there are things that drink at different paces. There are some things that are super thirsty plants, and there are some that are not. So it's a happy balance. But you've got to know what you're doing when you go into this and research these plants. And so I know what I'm up against, but I'm not willing to just forfeit it because it's going to take a little bit of my time. If I knew 100% sure I wasn't going to be out here every day and able to watch this stuff, I wouldn't think this way. But this garden is a part of who I am, so I'm out here. I'll constantly monitor it, and it's a good way for me to give you guys some feedback, because a lot of times you're probably a lot like me where you won't take a chance because of A, B, C, or D. And sometimes when we can talk and walk through each other through it, we can learn from one another. So hopefully I'm able to learn from this, and then maybe you guys will be able to learn from my experience. But right below it, I have some monkey grass. I love monkey grass. Again, super aggressive. Pay attention to that if you decide to put it in. It's actually called lyrope. And then we have some astilbe. You can start to see the blooms are coming up. Again, over on this side, the sidewalk is flanked with a whole bunch of ajuga. I have a few hydrangeas in here, a bunch of hosta, some allium. This is the, what is that, purple sensation? I don't know, I'll throw it up.
Little onions.
Yeah, those things. In the back, underneath this sumac, is some more irises. I've got, which one is this? This is a Japanese forest grass, sunflower, Hakanakloa. So, a lot of fun there. It's the only one the rabbits haven't got to. Darn rabbits. Right here is an ivory halo dogwood. Super showy. I love that variegation, especially when I'm up on the porch. It really shows out. It just gives it a bright spot to take away from all of the evergreens that are out here, all the different things that are just solid green. That really helps out. I've got a Japanese maple right here. This is, I won't even try. I'll butcher it, but I'll give you the name. Let's see. Right here is our fish pond. They have been spawning lately, so the water's a little bit murky. But my wife fed them just before, oh, nope, they might eat. So give me a second, maybe I can get them to come to the top. See if we can get them to come up. So they're like our children. They're always hungry. Yeah. I wish the water wasn't so murky, but there's some pretty good sized fish. Those have been with us. It's funny, you know, this pond, when I put it in, the first 6, 7, 8 rains that spring, I almost took it out because this thing filled up with water. And the lining would come clear to the surface, to the top, and there'd be bubbles under it. It was just chaotic, and I just kept, I was persistent that I was going to have a pond. And, you know, I got to circulate in this water, so what that water does, if you can stay there, Jesse, but what that water does is it will go around the pond now. It used to go in the pond. We'd have fish clear down over by our wooden structure. If you pan up just a little bit, Jesse. Over there, we'd have fish clear over there because the water would be so high in the current, but the fish would, I guess fish just normally tend to follow the current, and we'd have fish clear down there, so they'd be flopping around in the grass when I'd wake up in the morning if we had a night freeze or a night rain. But so the water follows it around. I put in this creek. We used to call it a dry creek. It's obviously not so dry, but we just keep it partially full, and it will fill up with water on really big rains, and then it will, you can stay right there, Jesse. So then the water will travel through here, underneath here, go into that dry creek, follow that wooden structure out, and then it'll go into some pipes that the city provides, so that it will take it out into water retention ponds. A lot of fun. So when you ask, can I show you some current water flow, I just can't, because we've built this garden up long before we even knew what YouTube was. Because 8 years ago, I wasn't looking at you. Was I looking at YouTube 8 years ago?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I didn't even know I was going to be doing videos. So right beside you, Jesse, is you can tell them what it is. What's that called?
Little Henry.
Little Henry Spire, that's right. She's, like I said, she's an old pro now, so kudos to her. You can actually stay there and we can do some work in there. Here's our patio area. We will sit here and have a beverage, watch a game, just kind of hang out and socialize. But from where I'm at to where you are at, you can hear all the water, so come out here, read a book, watch your phone, whatever it is that you do to relax. That's what we do, and so this is a lot of fun up here. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but at one point in time, this all used to be rock through here, and really couldn't step on it much. You had to have shoes, so yeah, we're super happy. She's giving me a look, so she's giving me a look because I want to move to the country. I want acreage. I want to see, now that I know what I'm doing, I want to see what I can do, and I want to see how far I can take this, not the YouTube, but how far I can take landscape. And sometimes my inner child just goes crazy, and I want to see what we can do. That's why I asked her, I said, tonight, do you want to videotape the yard tour, because I'm hands-on, so I feel when I'm doing these videos, I'm like, what's it called when you take pills to relax? I feel like I'm on those, and I'm not. I'm kind of a hyper guy, but I can't use my hands to talk and point, and so yeah. Anyways, hopefully that's coming across, and I don't seem like a crazy guy. Right here, this is the most often asked question. In fact, a lot of you probably are only watching this channel because at some point you saw this pop up on a thumbnail on YouTube. But solid metal. Again, my brother that lives in Texas made this for me. I just drew up what I wanted, gave him the dimensions, heights, widths, and all that stuff, and it came together. My wife and I drove to Midland, Texas. We came home, wheeled it to the backyard before pretty much, it was daylight, but it was real early daylight, because we didn't want all the neighbors asking us, what's that thing, you know, because, you know, that's what, if you're a neighbor, you're going to ask. So I can throw up some pictures of him making it. Super expensive, I can tell you that, and the amount of time to weld everything is extensive. So if you're wanting one, I bet he'd make you one, but it would not be cheap. But yeah, a lot of fun. This actually is probably my #1 favorite thing of the garden, just because it's just one day, like I said, my inner child, my imagination is just taking me places, and I'm able to perform. So do things to the garden that I would not be able to do. I don't know how to articulate it, but I can tell you this: with this and everything we're doing in this grassy area right here, that secret garden's really going to pop and perform one day. If I'm here long enough, I can't wait to share where this will take us. So, all right, onward. Right here, we have a bunch of coleus lined with some lemon coral sedum. Again, I've said it ad nauseum, the lemon coral sedum will flirt with the sidewalk, and it'll be a lot of fun. If you want to pan over there this way. So a lot of times we will sit in a hot tub and we'll just kind of look out. We'll have a visit. We'll talk about our day, have a beverage. But we moved this recently, moved all of our license plates over here. One reason being because we needed a place to put them, but every state, country, anywhere we go and we stay any length of time, whether we're driving through, we stay the night, that types of things, we have memories in all these states. We have a lot more plates that we need to put up, but that being said, it's something that allows us to keep memories alive, and so that's our inspiration wall. A lot of fun, but that was recently done in a video. We can head to the grass, and I think that's it. So we're almost done with the tour. Behind us is the porch, if you're not familiar with our garden. So the porch is right behind you. We're walking out into the little bit of grass that we have in the backyard. The moon gate, like I said, we talked about. Some people call it the star gate, but yeah, super special for this garden. All right, so when you walk in here, eventually with all the trees and the canopies, all the different shrubs and stuff, I'm really hoping that it'll block out everything. Eventually I want it to block out all the homes, our house, all the homes that you see back there. I really want to block out some of the fencing, and I really want, once you walk in here, just to feel like you're in a space that's unbelievable. So it's kind of a secret garden, and I think as we continue, I think we're on the right path, but as we continue, I might actually see it through. So that garden space right there, it's just a repeat of salvias, catmint, lamb's ear. What else do we got, Jesse? We've got lilies, penstemon. So all those same things is just a duplicate of what we did in the garden. That space from right here to right there is all new. That was last year. I put that in last spring. The reason why it looks so full is because, again, back to all the trees and the shade that I have, I was able to dig those plants out of spaces throughout the garden and then pop them into this space. And so they spent maybe a year or so in unwanted shade, and now they're just really just going all out for it, because now they're actually getting to live, and live in the space that they really want, which is baking. They love to bake in the sun. So that whole space right there is super fun for me because it really materialized. I did have to spend a little bit money to buy bigger pots so that some of the stuff didn't get left behind. But as you can see, this whole garden is the same as that garden where I raised up everything. We have clay soil, so all I did was raise up the soil level by a foot. It settled, so it's about 8 to 10 inches above ground level. I think that is the key to gardening, and it allows all the roots from all these newly planted shrubs and annuals and perennials to just actually take off and not have to spend the energy to fight through the clay soil or some of the tougher soil if you're in a zone where you struggle to get things going. So that being said, I think this is the end of the tour. You can just kind of pan around slowly, Jess, but I think we did it. I think our first actual duo tour is in the books. We'll see when we go through and recap. She's worried that she's been all over the place, but yeah, that being said, if you like what you're seeing from our garden, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and make sure and hit that notification. You'll be the first to know when we pop up a video. And yeah, just continue to teach me from your comments. I'm trying to learn. I know I've been told to move the camera a little bit fast, and the music and everything. A lot of times when I'm playing music, it's because we do live in the inner city and we have, it feels like 7 daycares around us, because the yard does, the children around us have a good time, and it's kind of a distraction when you're doing a YouTube video. Not so much for me, but for you folks on the other end. I'd rather just let you hear all the birds and, you know, everything that nature has to offer, but sometimes that's not realistic, because we are in the inner city. So trains, planes, children, horns, motorcycles, you name it, it's probably going to be in the video at some point, and that's why I play the music. So yeah, my wife says that's what you what do you say? I say too much?
That being said.
That being said. So that being said, that's the recap. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.